A new study shows that the same genetic variant that increases the risk of falling seriously ill with COVID-19 protects you from another serious disease. It reduces a person's risk of contracting HIV by 27%.
A study by Hugo Zerbeck, a researcher at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Germany and Karolinska Institutet in Sweden, indicates that the same gene variant that increases the risk of falling seriously ill with COVID-19 reduces a person's risk of contracting HIV by 27%. Some people become seriously ill when infected with SARS-CoV-2, while others have only mild symptoms or no symptoms at all. In addition to risk factors such as advanced age and chronic diseases like diabetes, genetic heritage also contributes to an individual's COVID-19 severity risk. In the autumn of 2020, the researchers showed that people inherit major genetic risk factor for severe COVID-19 from Neanderthal. In the spring of 2021, the same researcher duo studied this variant in ancient human DNA and observed that its frequency has increased significantly since the last ice age. In fact, it has become unexpectedly common for a genetic variant inherited from Neanderthal. The genetic risk factor is located in a region on chromosome 3 that consists of many genes. There are several genes in its vicinity that encode receptors in the immune system. One of these receptors, CCR5, is used by the HIV virus to infect white blood cells. Zerbeck found that people who carry the risk factor of COVID-19 had fewer CCR5 receptors. This led him to test whether they also had a lower risk of becoming infected with HIV. By analyzing patient data from 3 major biobanks, FenGen, UK Biobank, and Michigan Genomic Initiative, he found that carriers of the risk variant for COVID-19 had a 27% lower risk of contracting HIV. This shows how a genetic variant can be both good and bad news. Bad news if a person contracts COVID-19. Good news because it offers protection against getting infected with HIV, says Zerbeck.
So that was an interesting story right there. But I want us to talk about how COVID-19 genetic variant reduces one's risk of contracting HIV. Agyemang, I see would want to start with that.
Interestingly, this is we have to accept that these genetic variants are genes that are in the body and can increase the risk of we falling seriously ill. So accepting the premise for these genetic variants, let's go into where exactly this genetic variant is. I know people want to know where this is. This genetic risk factor is located in the chromosome 3. That consists of many genes. Now, in that vicinity, what they do is just they encode the receptors of the immune systems. And one of these receptors is what we call the CCR5. CCR5 is used by HIV/AIDS. It's one of the genetic variants used by HIV/AIDS to infect the white blood cells. So these are genes in the body that support diseases to thrive. So strangely, would you believe that there's a gene in you that if a disease comes into you, it propels or facilitates the disease ability to thrive? That's naturally what it is. And like how we have in the human body an enzyme called ACE2 that allows, or like that causes the damage if the coronavirus enters the cells. It is in the body for a purpose, but it's the same way the reason why we seriously get the symptoms of COVID-19, and it's still in the human body. So this CCR5 is in the body, in the receptors, that helps HIV/AIDS to thrive and infect the white blood cells. The white blood cells are where the immune systems work and fight. So if you go for a lab test and say in your white blood cells we find this there, it means that they are fighting something. Strangely, Zerbeck's study found out that people who had the risk of COVID-19 had no or less CCR5 receptors, or fewer of them. So if you have CCR5 in your body and it supports HIV/AIDS, and you having a COVID-19 risk variant in you reduces the amount of CCR5 in you, it means that HIV/AIDS has less support variants in you to help it grow. So someone with COVID-19 has reduced a level of CCR5 to make HIV/AIDS thrive. So for good news for that person with COVID-19 means that you can get HIV. Bad news.
You can get HIV. The study is saying that it only reduces your chance of getting HIV by just 27%. So there's a huge gap.
A very minimal rate of you getting HIV/AIDS. To appreciate the fact that, so in this case, someone with COVID-19 on the wholesome base perhaps has less chance of getting HIV/AIDS because of the minimal presence of the CCR5. On the other hand, sure.